welcome back. Look, I took a short break for a short period of time just to finalise some of the key offers, the workshops, the courses and the ebooks, which are all now available on the website, themodernfatherhoodclub.com. But the last few months have been tense, difficult and at times have been overwhelming. If you thought you had it covered as the kids got older, think again. The challenges just get more complex and more draining. Both boys are now at school and we're bedding into that period of transition, but one that's filled with challenges, obstacles, unique experiences, and plenty of joy and frustration thrown in for good measure. More on that in later episodes, but right now I need it to make sense to me personally before I'm able to justify an opinion on it. And to be frank, I haven't quite got this bit under control. The challenges have been thick and fast, and we haven't seen the end of some of them yet. So for now, let's just focus on getting back to the basics. We're still talking about supporting mum. We're doing this because without your support, you will drive a wedge between the two of you. I think selfishly, we hope that her transition will be easy. Motherhood is hard enough, but the complexities that attach themselves to the working mother are often beyond our comprehension. Why? I think it's because we're ignorant. I think we miss the subtle bullshit that presents itself daily, whether from the company that she works for or from the colleagues she works with. It's hard, filled with bias and baseless judgment. She's had your baby. She's sacrificed her career. Your ignorance is going to cost you, and ultimately, it's going to cost the kids too. As a partner, this one you can't overlook. You've got to take an interest in the way her employer treats her during the pregnancy, post-baby, and importantly, in the lead up to her return to work. You are her ally. You must learn to stand shoulder to shoulder with her. Treat her as your equal, regardless of her financial contribution. You've got to protect the partnership at all costs, and you must do this from a position of understanding and a willingness to empathise with her position, the emotion of the moment and the barriers to her success. One key area to focus your attention on is to understand her employer's policies. Why? Because they impact you and the kids as much as they impact her. For the record, I didn't show an interest in the policies beyond the financial impact that they were going to have on the stability of our home. But today, I'd approach it differently. As a leader within a business, the policies were the last thing I believed I needed to be well versed in. I opted to understand them only when they impacted my role or someone within my team. As her partner, you cannot go into the pregnancy blind to the details of those policies. It's a practical nature of them that can let you take on some of the strain during both the early and latter stages of her pregnancy. This isn't just about financial planning, but you want to understand how she's going to be protected during maternity and, importantly, as she approaches her return. To be very clear, out of sight, out of mind. I've been guilty of it. The policy covers the lead up to the pregnancy. You support the working mum through the processes set out in the policy, and you try to accommodate every challenging position that accompanies that pregnancy. But once baby arrives, that's it. Work goes on, and you're focused on whatever it is the business demands of you. That policy protects mum during maternity leave, and it gives her time and space to bond with baby. But the reality is it creates a void. She's no longer part of the team physically, and she's not contributing to the business. And so you're not consciously focused on her role and the impact she had before she had baby. As a leader, you're distracted by today and the pressure of tomorrow. Most businesses aren't focusing on the gap and what it can do to a woman standing in that business. I need to be an ally to her on her return. But in most cases, we've not spoken for almost 12 months. And any touch points we've had have been brief, friendly, but very little else. I should have known more. And I should have educated myself on the pressure of modern motherhood before my wife went off on maternity leave. But as you know, those early years as a dad, I was consumed by the weight of the world around me. It was only once I'd made progress that I was able to see the pressure she faced and the support she needed. Still, even with a clearer mind, I wasn't clued up. And that's why this topic is one that's both important, but also very personal to me. In our paternity episodes, we talked about getting clear on the impact of paternity and the support available to working dads. Today, we're talking navigating employment policies, conversations before the return, setting expectations, supporting her through the challenging conversations, conversations about flexible work and understanding the entitlement, and advocating for her needs. Reflecting back, yes, I made loads of mistakes, but that's why I'm focusing on supporting you to better help your partner. What we need as fathers is to leave nothing to chance and leave nothing on the table. It's not just about provision. It's about protecting the family unit from day one. And in the modern world, this is our role. Better educated, more empathetic, and switched on to the challenges she worked her whole life to avoid, we are better able to support her. Understanding the detail behind her employer's policies is a vital step in ensuring a smooth return to work. This includes a good understanding of the maternity policy, her contract of employment, your parental leave policy, flexible working policies at both your employers. Understanding these aspects not only helps you to plan for her return to work, but it also empowers you to help her make informed decisions about that return. This is the step that we overlook. Our role as her ally is to champion her role as a career woman and mum. Both will be in conflict at some point on this journey, and that is why you cannot underplay the importance of her role and the impact on the family beyond being mum. Your ego will get in the way. Your financial contribution may well be critical to the success of the early days, but she's sacrificing so much more. But seriously, if she's just sacrificed her career, you must not overlook her needs and her will to be more than mum. Yes, you might be in that position to provide, but you must never downplay her role and contribution beyond the four walls of the home. She may have chosen to be a full-time mum, but ask yourself whether the decision was one she made because she could, or was it a decision that was taken away from her? Just remember, she's taking a step back to pursue motherhood and raise your children. When the time comes to decide, will she even have a job to go back to? And if she does have the choice to stay home, what will it do to her future career prospects? I overlooked all of this. I believed that her impact at work would give her the stock to get back to the level she deserved to be at before she had our children. How wrong was I? My friend, it's the subtleness that leaves the sour taste. It's the rage-inducing comments made by those around her that can lead you to feel frustrated and with nowhere to turn. My advice? Read up on the challenges of modern motherhood. Be the ally she needs and ready yourself for the challenges both in plain sight and those that lurk in the shadows. Your role in this process goes beyond passive awareness. It involves an active engagement with the policies that influence her professional life. This includes understanding the legal rights and protections she's entitled to as a new mother returning to work. My partner and I recently sat down to discuss a recent change to her maternity policy, the financial benefit and how it might impact our collective take-home salary if we were to ever expand our family. During our first pregnancy, there were several options available to us, including maternity, paternity, and shared parental leave. The challenge we initially faced was understanding the policies and trying to work out the financial cost attached to growing our family. We had always planned to have children. But when it comes to making sense of that financial cost, it can be an absolute minefield. The key is securing a copy of the policy before she has to notify her employer of the pregnancy. Obviously, until she is required to notify them, her pregnancy is very much a private matter. But in the lead up to her return to work, you're going to need to take a closer look at that policy and understand what support is available to her. As a partner, you want to have a clear understanding of her entitlement, how much she will receive, and any contractual obligations which might see her forfeit the maternity pay she receives if returning to work is not financially viable. In the lead up to her return, you're going to have a clear view on her maternity policy and flexible working policy and how her return to work is going to be managed. In most cases, keeping in touch days will be offered, and it is a great opportunity for your partner to get some much needed face time before she returns. But if she's planning to take advantage of these days, you want to be on hand to handle any childcare so that she can fully focus on being present in the office or at work. Ahead of her kit days, you've got to encourage her to get an updated version of the maternity policy. And it's also useful to understand her holiday entitlement and whether or not she will return to work earlier and then take her accrued holiday. If she can take any holiday at the end of her maternity leave, this is going to reduce the financial burden of an extended leave without salary. If she is planning to return to work, again, having a clear view on the financial and practical implications of doing this will help you both navigate this important phase. Your role as her partner is to actively encourage her to talk to her employer early and ensure that they haven't forgotten her. My advice, force the issue. Don't let her put it off. She may be lacking in confidence as she prepares to face these conversations, but that's where you come in. This is a partnership after all. Now is not the time to be passive and disengaged. Whilst this might feel like overkill, actively engaging in a conversation about her return is going to help force the employer to consider the impact of her return and start to think about any business updates that are going to impact her. Your role is to support, and the better educated you are on the policies and financial implications of her returning to work, the more focused she can be on returning to work. Both of you will be impacted by her return to work, and assessing whether a business has family-friendly policies before baby arrives can help with future planning. She might be obligated to return for a period to ensure that she doesn't lose that maternity pay, but that doesn't mean that the business remains the right fit. As a part of her plan, encourage her throughout the pregnancy and post-baby to talk about her expectations, her career plan and her goals. Finally, it's important to factor in your own employer's flexible working policy and where possible, take advantage of it. I'm not saying that you need to take an extended leave of absence, but where there is an opportunity to talk about flexible working, and that is something you think is going to benefit you both, then have that conversation. Be open about it and be open to change. If you're able to work from home more and keep some of the plates spinning, it's okay to give yourself permission to put family first. If your employer is committed to diversity and inclusion, then putting your family first shouldn't be an obstacle to your career and your status in the business. In earlier episodes, we've talked about the importance of flexible working. I work flexibly, and let me tell you this, I have never worked harder, never felt more drained, and never needed a break like I do from time to time. Flexible working creates equality in the home, and it enables you to play an active role in the day-to-day activities and experience a greater opportunity to bond with your kids, but it can deplete your energy and leave you with no escape. My advice, openly talk with your partner about flexible working and identify the rhythm that works for you both and creates enough space so that you don't feel overwhelmed and exhausted. So let's talk about the conversations that you need to be having before she returns. You want to talk about setting expectations. So well before her return to work, engage in conversations about what to expect. This includes discussing any changes in her role, potential adjustments to workload, and the support mechanisms available to her within the workplace. Understanding the expectations from both her and her employer's perspective allows for proactive planning. It also positions you as a partner to be actively involved from the get-go, and this helps her feel more secure as she navigates those early days. By anticipating and addressing potential challenges beforehand, you contribute to creating a supportive environment that will ease her transition back to the workplace. It's critical that you discuss her plans. Ensure that she initiates the conversation with her employer. This is a critical step, that first conversation with her employer to notify them that she will be returning to work. In my experience, the conversation is often very matter of fact, and it could be as simple as your partner sending an email with the relevant confirmation attached. At this critical stage, she needs to arrange a conversation with her employer and start that ball rolling on her return. If she hasn't been chased by her employer, she's got to push for the meeting. Her return might be a formality in the eyes of her employer, but it is critical that she takes the steps to have a proper conversation. I recommend speaking to your partner and getting her to engage with her leader in an open and honest conversation. Less emotive, more practical about her return and plan to return, and importantly, what support she thinks she's going to need. At this stage, you will both need to understand how you plan to manage this return and what childcare arrangements need to be in place, the cost, and of course the division of responsibilities. And this is where you've got to be clear on how you're going to support the practical side of parenting. My kids have swimming, parkour, football and rugby, and my partner and I both need time to decompress at the gym. I have my routine in the morning, and my wife, she takes time to decompress in the evening. But the balance is incredibly hard to nail down, and to stay on top of it, you've got to approach it with a degree of flexibility. That flexibility enables you to make quick changes should something not work out. Your role is to champion her as a working mother. You cannot do that if you're not treating her as your equal and respecting the role she plays both at work and home. She's juggling a lot, and I suspect you are too. But her first line of defence to any challenges to her health and well-being should be you. Your support and the strength of your partnership are key to her success. If you're distracted or ignorant to the realities of busy working mums, you need to take a step back and reflect on the pressure you're both experiencing and make sure you do not lose sight of what's important to her. And most importantly, never undervalue her contribution. In my opinion, she's got to use this stage to get a feel for her line manager's level of engagement in the process and what support, if any, is going to be available. Now, whilst you can't participate directly in any of these conversations, you can help her form the outline for the conversation. These early conversations set the tone, but also they help her understand what support, if any, is going to be on offer. She should be prepared to highlight the importance of her role, what support she thinks she's going to need, and also identify any training needed to help her get back up to speed. She should also use this as a chance, let's face it, to get a feel for her employer's approach to supporting working mums, as the cultural fit and support available are going to be key to her navigating this period. Look, your active involvement is going to reinforce the idea that her return to work is not just an individual endeavour, but it's a shared commitment. The approach you take should reinforce your commitment to her progression and her value as a contributor emotionally and financially to the stability of your family unit. If she's decided to return and it's financially viable, then she will want the best chance at succeeding on a professional and personal level. If she's overlooked on her return, it's not only demoralising, but it saps her confidence and self-belief. And the longer there is a drain on her energy, the more difficult those conversations will be. Regardless of the issues at hand, any conversation with an employer can be intimidating. And therefore your role as her partner is to ensure that she's armed with the facts. Not only that, but should there be a reason to doubt her employer's intentions, then she's going to need support collating evidence and discussing her next steps. Your role as a supportive partner involves not only understanding the policies, but also preparing for a difficult conversation, including negotiating flexible working arrangements, addressing concerns about workload, raising a concern about something said, or seeking accommodations. As her partner, you want to be able to help her articulate what she needs in a positive but assertive fashion. This is your chance to ensure she's ready to stand her ground, and it's your chance to help her understand her options. Your supportive presence is not just about offering emotional reassurance, but it's actively contributing to the development of the solution. Understanding both perspectives provides a foundation for constructive conversations, positioning both of you as proactive partners in her return to work. Let's talk about flexible work arrangement. In the modern workplace, flexibility is increasingly recognised as a crucial element for employee well-being. As she begins to think about work, you will want to understand the opportunities available for that flexibility. And this might include options such as remote work, adjusted hours, or a phased return to full-time work. Understanding the policies around flexible work arrangements in both your workplaces is going to be essential. Again, preparation is key. If she is able to articulate the positive impact to home life and to the business, then she should be afforded, if the policy exists, that opportunity to put that flexible request in. Your role as a partner is not just to understand the policies, but actively support her in advocating the arrangement. In the UK legislation states that all employees have the legal right to request flexible working, not just parents and carers. This is known as making a statutory application. As an employee, she can apply for flexible working if she has worked continuously for the same employer for the last 26 weeks. And the basic steps are that she needs to write to her employer. Her employer then has time to consider the request and must then make a decision within 3 months. Now this can be longer, but it should be agreed with her. If her employer agrees to the request, they must change the terms and conditions within her contract. If the employer disagrees, they've got to write to her and give her the business reasons for the refusal. She may be able to complain to an employment tribunal if the reasons are insufficient, but it's important that we understand what those reasons are. The important thing to note is that your partner has the right to make this request. Whether she does is entirely dependent on your circumstances. If she only wants to adjust her working schedule, this would still fall within that flexible working request. And that request would need to be in writing, and it's got to include the date, a statement that sets out her request, and that it is a statutory request, the details of how she will want to work flexibly and when she wants it to start. She should also include an explanation of how she thinks the flexible working might affect the business and how this could be dealt with, and a statement setting out if she previously made a flexible working request. Her employer's still got to deal with the request in a reasonable manner, and examples would include assessing the advantages and disadvantages of the request, holding a meeting to discuss those advantages and disadvantages, and of course, offering an appeal process if the request is denied. Look, flexible working has plenty of advantages, but it's also important to take a balanced and pragmatic view. It must fit your personal circumstances, and it has to work for you and her. I recommend exploring the idea with your partner and understanding the financial impact before either of you make a decision. In terms of the advantages, we've got increased work-life balance. Now this is an interesting one, and it's actually an incredibly difficult one to nail down. There will be times when it feels like you have it all under control, but there will also be times when it just spins out of control. So you do need to understand what work-life balance means to you. And is it work-life balance that you're chasing? Is it the balance at home, or is it the balance at work? And is it going to have a knock-on effect to you in your career, or her in her career, if you sacrifice too much? Now the children are going to be impacted by this decision. You both are going to be impacted by the decision. So as an example, I took an opportunity to work flexibly for just under 12 months, and it worked beautifully on the days that I was off with the kids. It was fantastic. We had a moment to bond. We had time to share. we had experiences to create. But at work, the challenge I faced was getting the work done in the shorter period. So I still worked the same number of hours, but I worked it over a shorter number of days. So I was working later, which meant I was more tired and I was more susceptible to feeling exhausted and overwhelmed from time to time. So there is an opportunity to work flexibly. There is a massive advantage to it. But you need to understand the cost. It's like a cost-benefit analysis. What is the cost to you? What is the cost to your kids? What is the cost to the business? Let me be frank, it's the cost to you and the family that's most important. But if you are working flexibly, you've got to understand how it impacts your relationship with your kids and how it impacts your emotional well-being and your ability to manage stress. Today, I work from home all the time, right? It's a fantastic opportunity to be there for my children. I get to do drop-off. I get to spend quality time with them early doors, as soon as they come through the door. I also get to do pickup. But let me be clear, there are times when it is absolute chaos. If I've had a particularly tough day, I'm opening that door and I'm straight out into the home environment, straight out into potentially a stressful environment after two kids come home, they're hungry, they're screaming, they want some food, they want to just decompress, and we're about to go to football or we're about to go swimming. So it's rushed. So flexibility is the key to your success as a parent, but it comes with its own challenges which are going to be unique to you. So you've got to work out the cost, you've got to work out the benefit. The benefit has to outweigh that cost. In terms of those disadvantages, it's going to be more difficult to set boundaries. It can be even harder to establish a routine, and it can be even more difficult to decompress. There is also a risk that either of you are going to find it really difficult to mentally disconnect from work. And I promise you, it can lead to higher levels of stress, and it stops you potentially engaging in family life. One thing to consider is whether or not there's appropriate workspace in the home. One that allows you to separate work and your home life, the kids, what balance you need. Because if the workspace isn't there and you're in the kitchen, that working flexibly actually stops you from disconnecting the two areas of your life, of her life. So when she puts in a flexible request, you need to understand how it's going to impact you, how it's going to impact the kids, how it's going to impact the home environment. Because if the two areas overlap, that is where you have the biggest challenge. That's where you have the biggest conflict. Because the kids want to be heard. They want you to be present in the moment when they come through the door. And if you're still working and you're trying to make dinner, etc., those are the things that creep. And they creep into each side of the relationship, but importantly, that's where they create the stress. The balance is thrown out, and therefore you're playing catch up, whether you're playing catch up at work or whether you're playing catch up in the relationship with your children. The next advantage is parental involvement. So I'm here, I'm home. My partner works from home flexibly too. It's an amazing time. It's a unique space for us to be heavily involved in our children. When I was growing up, both my parents worked. So my parents were out all day. I was at school all day. There was some wraparound support and care. But in reality, our relationship was very different because they weren't there all the time. Today, I am home. Today, my children know I'm home. And that can actually create some anxiety, some stress, some strain, because they think they're missing out. They think that you're at home having a party, spending time together, when in reality, you are thrown in at the deep end. You've dropped them off at school, you've thrown yourself into work, you work flat out all day, probably missing lunch, because most people do if they're working flat out, and then you go and pick them up. So the break, where's the break? And that's the challenge of flexible working. Those are the things that you need to get your partner to think about when she's working out if she wants to apply to work flexibly or if you want to work flexibly. Your involvement in their lives will increase. But if you're not present, if you're not connected and you're always stressed or always on the work phone, the reality is, and I hate to say it, you're actually negatively impacting their little world. They want you to be present from the moment they walk through that door. They want you to engage in the play. They want to have cuddles. They want to tell you about their day. But if you're halfway through a call, halfway through a meeting, those things don't happen. And you kind of push them to one side. So A, you've got to have the space. B, you've got to make the space. You've got to have the sort of bookended at the end of each day. a bit of time between picking them up from school and finishing work. Because if you don't have that 10 minutes, that's when you carry your stress into their day. And if they've had a tough day, they've had a challenging day, then their behaviour is different, your behaviour is different, and your ability to interact and ability to understand what's going on emotionally can be really, really hard. So these are the things you've got to think about. There are always advantages. You will be more present if you build the right routine, if you create the space that enables you to decompress before you pick them up. And trust me, it's an incredibly hard balance to achieve, and actually you can feel like you're chasing your tail. And these are the things that your partner will need to be aware of. You will need to be aware of, because if she's off to the office for 2 days a week, as an example, you need to take the lion's share of the pickup duty, etc., especially if you've got that flexibility too. There is no longer that time to decompress from the train journey, the car journey. You are thrust in a flexible world. You are there. You are present. You are there from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed. There is a gap because they're at school, at nursery, etc., but it doesn't mean the balance can be thrown out really easily by whatever has hit you that day or whatever's hit them. In terms of disadvantages, she's not always going to understand what changes to make that will benefit the family and what the short-term and long-term impact of those changes is going to be. Of course, some businesses, the business comes first. They're less interested in terms of your personal home environment. And of course, if they're not promoting an inclusive workforce, then there's going to be bias in the workplace. Your partner is going to be seen to be leaving early, as an example, to pick up the kids and not pulling her weight. She might even be open to greater levels of scrutiny regarding her commitment, contribution, or even her productivity. Any perception that she isn't pulling her weight can lead to limited professional growth and opportunities. Let me be very, very clear. You will see an improvement in your mental health. You will spend more time focused on your kids. The reality is there will be an improvement, but there will also be a decline. There will be a decline in her mental health. If she opts to work flexibly straight after going back into work, she will be questioned, she will be challenged, she will feel like she's not part of a team, like she's not performing, like she's not contributing, like she's not adding the value that she once did. You will see that. She will feel it. It will drain her energy, her resources, her confidence. And that strong, confident woman, the mother of your children, she will start to feel less valuable to her business, to her role as a mother. The two will always be in conflict. So working flexibly gives her an opportunity to decompress. It creates space. But if she doesn't manage it well, and she doesn't have a routine that works, and she's not looking after herself physically, mentally, then she will be drained, because the job will drain her. The kids will drain her. If you're not engaged and you're not offering the support that she so desperately needs, she will be drained of the energy and resources required to give everything she has to the job, to the kids, to you. Put the ego to one side. This is her return to work. Her flexibility, her adaptability on that return must work for her. It must work for you. It must work for the kids. But it must have a positive impact. Because the moment her confidence drains, the moment she begins to question the value that she brings, the contribution, her career aspirations will suffer. Her role at work will diminish because she'll be less engaged. So yes, flexible working has a place. It creates valuable space for you, for her, to engage with your children. It gives you a moment to breathe if you find space to do so and you commit to it. But it will destroy her. Her confidence will ebb away if she's undermined at work, undervalued. So be conscious of the challenges that she's about to face. If she's signed up to work flexibly, because it works, because she can pick up the kids, because she can support your career, she can support the family unit better, do not undervalue that contribution. The flexibility is important. It will knock her confidence if it is allowed to. Now, depending on her flexible work arrangements, she might see a drop in engagement from others as her face-to-face time changes. That lack of communication, like I've said, may result in her feeling isolated and detached from the workplace. And this can affect her sense of belonging. If she is taking on more responsibility at home, that can result in higher stress levels. Having the children around can create a more stressful environment, especially if she logs off for the day and jumps straight into parenting. So be aware, be open to it. Evaluate the impact of flexibility, because it does add value to the family, but it also comes with many warning signs. Look, for more detail, you can visit the Modern Fatherhood Club website and let the Modern Fatherhood Club support you, your partner, and help you create the family unit that you know will succeed in today's modern world. But in conclusion, navigating employment policies is a critical aspect of ensuring a smooth return to work for your partner. Understanding and actively engaging with policies related to maternity, parental leave and flexible working are key components of supporting her professional journey. The complexities of these policies, as highlighted through the discussion of maternity policies and the financial implications of growing a family, really do underscore the importance of early engagement. Securing a clear understanding of entitlements, contractual obligations, and potential financial consideration empowers both of you to make informed decisions. Remember that initiating conversations well before her return to work about expectations, changes in roles, and support and mechanisms within her workplace sets the stage for that successful transition. Equally important, though, is the early engagement with her employer regarding her return. Encouraging her to have an open and honest conversation allows for a much better understanding of the flexible working options, the support available, and any potential business updates and demands that might impact her return. Look, think about setting expectations and supporting her in those challenging conversations, especially around negotiating flexible work arrangements, because this requires a collaborative and very much informed approach. If you're in the UK, understanding the legislation on flexible working, preparing for the conversation, understanding growth opportunities, and actively contributing to the development of solutions positions you as the proactive partner she needs on this return to work journey. Flexible work arrangements, while offering many, many advantages, also come with so many challenges. You've got to assess the impact on work-life balance, parental involvement, mental health, family bonds, productivity, and importantly, job satisfaction. As a supportive partner, your role extends to understanding these potential impacts and evaluating whether the benefits of flexible working arrangements outweigh the costs. By actively engaging with and understanding the policies, setting clear expectations, and advocating for flexible work arrangements, you contribute significantly to creating the environment that supports her successful return to work and the overall well-being of your family. Look, it does work. Flexible working can work. Being engaged in her return to work is critical to her success. You owe it to her, the mother of your children, to stand shoulder to shoulder with her, to be her equal, to positively reinforce the impact that she has, both at work and at home. Your role is not to step back and let her face the music alone. This is a storm that continues to rage, especially as the kids get older. You will, right now, be in a position where she is making a decision to return. Let me be clear, that return is not always her decision to make, and as we've talked about, it can be restricted by the financial ramifications that taking a year off can have on your family. The cost of childcare and how that can destabilise your financial security. Look, supporting her return to work is all about your flexibility. It's about your understanding. It's about the quality of the environment that you're trying to create. It's about setting expectations. It's about being open and honest. And it's about understanding and leading with empathy and understanding and listening, giving her a level of feedback that gives her the confidence to make these decisions, that she understands that you have her back, that you will always go into battle with her. You cannot have the conversations on her behalf. That's not what I'm saying. But if she is preparing for a conversation before she returns, You need to be aware of the challenges ahead of time. You need to be aware of how she was treated before she had a baby. Do not be an obstacle to her success. Understand, listen, acknowledge, respect the woman that gave birth to your children. Respect the woman that had a career, and understand that her employer are not focused on her. They are not focused on her return, and in reality, in most instances, their engagement is very little. It starts with leadership. It starts with a understanding of the pressures on working mothers. But you, as her partner, cannot be an obstacle. You champion her. Stand shoulder to shoulder. It is difficult. My partner and I, we navigate many different storms. We've been through many different challenges. Sometimes I've been tapped into it and sometimes I haven't. But if you need support, if you need to understand more, reach out. That's what the Modern Fatherhood Club is here for. Our ebooks, our courses, everything is designed to get you in a position of strength, confidence, so that you can lead with courage. Not just your children, but your partner too. As always, I'm interested to hear your thoughts and views on this episode. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear the horror stories. And if you take one thing away from this episode, champion your partner. Never overlook her contribution. Never underestimate the impact her career and her choice to return to work can have on her health, well-being, confidence, and happiness. Tune in to the challenges she's about to face, and help her build the resilience necessary to make the choices that are right for her and the family. I learned a lot from my own journey and my own setback, but these conversations have to take place. They need to take place. And frankly, the employers, the government, they need to do more. They need to get behind working mums, and they've got to better sign the policies and the financial impact that maternity and childcare can have. But they also need to be educating from the top down that a mum returning to work is not just a number, but someone who contributed before they went off and is very likely to still be in that position to contribute to the work now. As always, thank you for listening. I respect everything you do for your family, and I want to hear more about your journey. Thank you for listening. This has been Fatherhood in Focus, part of the Modern Fatherhood Club.